Hello, gardening friends. This is Jim Kinson again. We want to welcome you to another video. Yesterday we did a video on planting impatiens, and I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm not used to speaking in front of a camera, so you're gonna have to excuse me. I shouldn't say that I'm not used to it because I do on Pal Talk when I'm doing my messages, my sermon messages, but for this, it's kind of hard because I don't know what you want. I don't know who's watching this. Um, Let me explain something else. I'm not an expert at gardening, but there's things that I have done that work very well for me. And this is what I'm trying to share with other people. The methods that I have used that um, work for me. Some things may sound totally crazy, but they work for me here up in Maine. In Maine, we're actually in zone 4. So my growing season is very short. And I think I mentioned yesterday, I have a 30 by 30, my main garden is 30 by 30. And then I have quite a few raised beds that I raise vegetables and fruits in. Those are 4 by 30. My asparagus bed is 4 by 30. And then we have quite a few gardens in the front where Leanna likes to have her flowers. And can't wait to get out in all those gardens. So today we're going to plant pansies. And what I've done is I've got my little cell trays started. I put the same way as I do with the impatiens. I fill each cell tray up with some soil, but I leave a little bit of room because I do want to cover these. With the impatiens, they want it to be laying right on the top of the soil, and then we just press them down. Uh, with pansies, they do need to be covered some. So, um, and I'm not sure if yesterday I had showed how to mix your soil. What works out for me is, and I don't have the bag up here with me. I use the Jiffy, and you can use whatever you want. Um, the organic seed starting mix. Um, and because when they package that and they ship it, they want it just as light as they can. They dehydrate it. It's very, very, very dry. So what I do is I dump my bag in my container. And for this, I do recommend using some kind of a tub, something that you're going to have room. I know people will use pails. I used to use pails, but where I'm in my grandson's uh, bedroom, I don't want to make a mess in here. So I use a tub like this. This is a 10-gallon tub. It's actually what I separate my worms when I'm getting the worm castings and starting a new bed. And this just works because I can put the cell trays in here, fill them up, and then what I do, remember I showed you yesterday, I just take my finger and lightly poke down to the bottom of those cells just so that all that growing medium is down at the bottom, because I don't, once the plants come up, I don't water on the top. I water from the bottom. And I want that soil to be able to soak that water up so that the plants can get that water that they need. So when I add the water, what I do is take a handful. I can't squeeze water out of it. I don't want it dripping wet. If I get to that point, I've got to add some more growing medium. But what I want is so that it comes apart real easy. I want it to clump in my hand, but I want it to break up easy. So, anyways, I have my tray filled with soil, not quite to the top, and I'll show you why once we get to that point. Let me aim this down, and I hope everybody's going to be able to see what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm not used to doing this way, so I'm not absolutely sure what you're seeing. What I'm going to use is it's a burpee. Like I said, I'm not all about one seed company or another. I have some that work for me. These seeds I happened to pick up from Walmart the other day. My wife and I went to Bangor, Maine. Some of you have heard some songs where they mention Bangor. Some people call it Bangor, Maine. What's the song? King of the Road was the name of the song. I can't remember who actually did it, but uh, Destination Bangor, Maine. It's actually pronounced Bangor. But okay, these seeds are very, very tiny. What I'm going to do is kind of split this up so that I've got half of the springtime mix, and the other one I believe is the Swiss Giant mix. So like I said, I'm not sure what you're seeing, so I'm going to move that. What I do is I put one seed, into each cell. Some people do 2, 3. That's fine. I may end up going a little bit more with this, only because she uses a lot of pansies. Um, like I said, this works out best for me. I normally have very good germination rate. I'm just adding a seed to each cell. And I can see I'm adding a few extras in some of these. And it's all right too. I can thin them. Let's see if we had any more in that. This one I had already, it was from last year's seeds. So, okay, so the rest is going to be the Swiss Giant. And in case anybody didn't notice that, 20 cents. 20 cents for this package. What a bargain. There's not a whole lot of seeds in there though. But that's all right. We get what we get. I'm not sure if I get any in that one. So such small seeds. Most of my life, half my life, I spent working on dairy farms, and I've abused my hands. I don't have a lot of feelings, and actually, when I was watching the video that I made yesterday of planting the impatiens, some of you might have also noticed my pinky doesn't work real well. I had a little accident, and anyways, it's all good. All good. I was also telling my wife, I was watching that video. I haven't put it together yet, but I'm watching me and I was like, wow, I've gotten older. I thought I looked really old in that in that little video clip. But I worked hard. And I was out in the sun a lot. Okay, so once you've got the seeds in there, then what I do is I just take some of that growing medium and just sprinkle some on the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle some on the top, and then I'm going to pack them in. I don't need a whole lot. I think on the directions it requires um, 1/8 of an inch, if I remember right. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking some of this growing medium, sprinkling it on top. It's already been pre-dampened. Like I said, you want to be careful um, that it's dry, that it's not too dry a mix. Um, a lot of times when I'm preparing my soil, I'll take a good 10 minutes mixing it up. And I think the reason why I started doing that was because of the worms. Um, because when I first started out, I was using what do they call the peat moss, and with the worms, because again that has to be damp also, and with the worms, what would happen is, I mean, I don't think it happened to me because I was very careful with it, but um, they'd be going through, traveling from one side or one corner of the bin to another, and they get into that dry stuff that hadn't got moistened yet, and it can kill them. So, like I said, because it is dehydrated, very, very dry, and when you start adding water, you'll get clumps, and oftentimes uh, in that clump, you'll have a dry spot. So that's why I'm very careful. Even with vegetables, I want these little guys I want them to grow. I want them to germinate. And once they germinate, I want them to grow. So what I'm doing is I'm just tapping the soil that I put on. Just, you don't have to press it hard. You can see I'm not pressing hard. I'm just tapping it down so that soil will meet the seed. I'm not sure. I think the germination period is 7 to 10 days on pansies. So anxious to see stuff start coming up in that new seed starter bin that I made. Last year, I started most of my stuff downstairs in the basement, and uh, I didn't have real good luck. All my seeds came up good. I had a very high germination rate, but they just didn't grow. And the basement is apt to be on the cool side. I'm going to say roughly 63, 65 degrees all the time. And I think that's what happened. The seeds have the energy and everything they need to start, but they also need that warmth, and they didn't have that warmth down there. So my wife, well, we don't have our grandson here as much. They live about 2.5, 3 hours away from us. So we don't have him every weekend and long weekend, when he's not in school. Uh, and not necessarily on all the school vacations. So she kind of turned this into a sewing room. On the other side of this camera, there's the sewing machines, cloth, and what have you. And I asked her, for the few months, do you mind if I set up that growing system? And I said, when I'm done, I said, you can have that shelving unit, to store cloth and whatever you need for your sewing. She was all for that. Well, she knows I take a big interest in growing. She knows I love watching seedlings grow, getting stuff into the garden. So, and I know I'm just talking along, but I figured if you're going to watch me do this, I might as well tell you a little bit of what interests me. This way you can get to know what I like. Okay, so we have the Swiss Giant and we have the Springtime. And I know that whole, actually, yeah, I'll put it there. And it's all right. Pansies, I know I'm not exactly where I was on that. So anyways, then what I do is I mist them in pretty good shape. And for the time being, I'm going to mist them about every other day. That usually works pretty well. Like I said, I don't know how much humidity I'm going to have in this grow system. Of course, everything's got the domes on it for now, so I know the house here is very dry. We've got forced hot air, and I was noticing yesterday we're running right around 25-27% humidity in the house, so it's dry, really too dry. So we'll give this a good mist. You know, the other thing is we're on town water, so because I do use a lot of worm castings in my soil medium, I didn't on this here. Some of yesterday's had a little bit of worm castings in it. Usually I don't add that to the bins or the mix until I transplant. But anyways, so what I do is I let the water sit out at least 24 hours before I that one doesn't fit real good, but it'll be fine. So there's how I plant pansies. So I hope this might have helped somebody out. Very easy, very easy. Days to germinate, 7 to 14. This particular type grows 6 to 8 inches high. She uses it in, we've got a water fountain out in the front yard that's converted into a flower pot, if you will. And she uses a lot of pansies there. She uses pansies in some of her pots. The impatience, what she does is she has like an old whiskey barrel that's tipped over, and it looks like the flowers are just running out. Everybody just loves that. So, anyways, thank you for being here with us. I hope you learned something. Hope it inspired you. You know, for those who want to plant a few flowers in their gardens, or just have a little raised bed with flowers, or flower pots with some flowers. It's so easy. And as we go through this growing season, this before spring, I call it, we'll be checking into the greenhouse and seeing how stuff is growing. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Click the like. And I want to hear your comments. Let me know what you want. Am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? Am I not giving you good instructions? I want to know, because I want to be able to help everybody that comes to learn how to grow. So we thank you. Have an awesome day today.